sending me emails asking for advice about academic study, and her partner, this and that, and such, right? So she's basically, she's going further and further away from the dean, right? Point I'm making is that the conversation I had with this guy today, I said, here's what, so I brought him to this point. I said, here's the Quranic argument, okay? Bring something, okay? And he said, no, I'm sure it can be done. I said, no, you have to go through and do it. You have to try. He said, no, I'm sure someone can do it. So you have to try to do it. He said, there's probably something there. Then I said, okay, tell me what it is. Okay. And in his case, he seems like he's actually seriously contemplating what all this means. But it's a very simple point. It's claiming to be, even if we don't say it's claiming to be coming from God, we're saying it's better than anything anyone can produce. If that's true, then you're not going to be able to come up with anything as good. What else is it saying? It's something really deep here. You're being invited to use your mind to your full ability. Right? Which is something that you commonly don't see when we speak about religion. Yes, sir?
What about the things that are unexplained?
Yeah.
Like all the the ciphers that are uncoded in the world and stuff like that.
Okay, well, put this in simple English for me. What does that mean? The ciphers that are uncoded?
Yusuf.
There's written texts and stuff that people that are found that no one knows the meaning
Sure.
of.
It would be the same point. That if no one knows the meaning of it, then by definition it doesn't work. Right? Because it's not providing people what they need. So I even made this point with him. Okay, suppose hypothetically the author of this is this man 1,400 years ago. He's saying this is the best writing possible.
Wait, who's that?
I'm saying hypothetically the prophet, peace be upon him. Okay? He's saying the author is Allah. And he's saying you're not going to be able to write anything better, so prove it wrong. Just like if I claim that Michael Jordan's the best basketball player of all time, how do you test it? Bring somebody better. And measure it according to every single way you possibly can. So what will happen to me if I do go through the process? If I don't go through the process and my issue is doubt, then I said doubt is going to fester, it's going to wear out your entire iman. Okay? You may be able to last your iman throughout your lifetime, it's not going to last your kid. Okay? Worse, your grandkid. But if I go through the process, a few things are going to happen. I'm probably going to get tired. Okay? I'm going to read so much, try to write, and I'm going to give up. Okay? Or I'm going to get satisfied in my heart. Okay? Now, why is it requiring me to bring witnesses along with me? It says, bring a surah and witnesses.
Well, it has to show that it actually affects people.
Well, I mean, you have to make it objective.
Yeah.
So, why can't I use Allah Ta'ala? Why can't I call in Allah Ta'ala as a witness? Attorney, why can't I call in Allah Ta'ala as a witness?
Can't get him.
Yeah, exactly. How are you going to do that? I can't say, as God is my witness, this has been accomplished. Okay? You can't use Allah Ta'ala as a witness. But you have to go through this exercise. Now, Muhammad, please read for us ayah 24.
Alrighty, but if you cannot, and of a surety you cannot, then fear the fire whose fuel is men and stones, which is prepared for those who reject faith.
Okay, so it's saying once you've gone through this, okay, and you realize you can't do it, okay, and the Quran is saying categorically you're not going to be able to do it. Okay? You still have to go through the exercise, but you're not going to be able to come up with anything that can even remotely compare. Then what is the word? Fattaqun nar. Have taqwa. Shield yourself against the fire. Okay. This is what we said at the beginning, right? The goal is to have taqwa. So now you're giving in, or now you're accepting, or now you're satisfied. Now start working in service to Allah Ta'ala. Start fulfilling the first two commands. Okay. Whose fuel is men and stones. And a lot of the feminists like this. Okay. What are the stones? Could be the idols, could be the hardened hearts of the kafirs, or it could just be the fuel of fire. Any of those three, all those three, something beyond, Allah knows best, right? And it's prepared for the kafirs. Now, what is a kafir? We've already defined that. Someone feels compelled to turn to Allah and they suppress it. So the kafir in this context is someone who's saying, yeah, I recognize this as truth. I'm not going to follow it still. So that's the first 4 ayahs of this section. Ayah 21 through 29, commentators say this is summing up the Quran of Makkah. That if you take all the ayahs revealed in Makkah, they're summed up here. Next time, inshallah, we'll get into the third command.
Right, so you said ayahs 21 through 29?
Are the Makki Quran. It's revealed in Medina, but let me make sure. Yeah, I think it's all revealed in Medina. Ya Ayyuhan Nas is usually revealed in Makkah, but essentially the commentators say that this is summing up the entire Quran of Makkah. Yeah. Now think about this for those of you who don't know what the third command is. Think of what the third command seems like it would be. First command makes sense. Second command makes sense. Worship Allah Ta'ala and turn away from everything else. I'm sorry? And turn away from everything else. So we would guess third command might be pray, because as-salatu ma'ad-din. Third command might be have sabr. Third command might be something else. But it's so interesting what the third command is, which we'll discuss inshallah next time.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it says under an ayah 22, it says, فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لَهِ أَنْدَادٌ, right? Saying don't set up rivals. It doesn't say la tushrik.
Correct.
It doesn't talk about shirk yet.
Yeah, very nice point.
So what's the...
I mean, this would
What are your
be
thoughts on that?
an act of shirk, right, to give rivals to Allah Ta'ala. But think about what the instruction is saying. Anything that I'm doing that's making a rival to Allah Ta'ala, turn away from that. Okay. If it said don't commit shirk, I think it becomes much wider. But so think back to what is the approach we're taking here. That when you take the Quran passage by passage, as the Sahaba did, right, and I'll be pleased with that. When you take it and digest it, you're embodying it, okay, with the idea that it's transforming it. So it's easier for me to first figure out where, if any place, a'udhu billah, I'm making a rival to Allah. See what I'm saying? The effective meaning is don't commit shirk. But the practical, in terms of the path of transformation, look for any place where I'm making a rival to Allah, try to turn away. Knowingly. This is what I'm doing.
It's almost defining shirk before it says shirk.
You know what, yeah. I mean, the word shirk defines shirk, but here.
Yeah.
Last time we talked about exercise. I think we don't have time, so we won't do that, the exercise. But maybe the exercise for this coming week could be about love of Allah and how one can, some way.
I think it's a good exercise.
Look at one's own life.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you can.
I mean, that's
maybe
good.
You
Like,
can solidify that.
take a look at your practices over the course of the next week, and see what you can find that you can say honestly is motivated by love for Allah. I think that for some of us it will be easy, and for some of us it will be very difficult. Right? That I'm doing this out of
Give
love
an
for Allah.
example for people to make it easy.
Yeah.
For example, getting up early in the morning.
Sure.
Sometimes it's very difficult for some people to get up. I mean, even if they want to, it's very difficult because they get up for the love of Allah. So just an example. This is one example.
Yeah, I mean, think of as a parent and your young child is crying at 6 o'clock in the morning, right? Especially if your child's a baby. You can sleep through. What wakes me up? Might be the love of Allah or love of the baby. It might be, well, if I don't get up, then the baby's going to keep crying. Or it might be that the baby's so vulnerable that I have to get up. But sometimes it's just nothing but the love of the baby. And that can give us a sense. So what are we saying here? That worldly love is a pathway to appreciate love of Allah. Right? Love for spouse, love for parent, love for child, all those things. That they're love on their own, but they're also a pathway to understand this. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What's your favorite translation? Because I have all the ones here.
Essentially the Halim translation. Halim is published by Oxford. I have issues with that one also, but that's ones that I use both in the university as well as in the masjid. It's easiest to read. The translator is an Azhari scholar, meaning he's from Al-Azhar, but I think his specialty is more in literature. My complaint about that one is I think he uses exclamation points too many times, right? Which, from an Arabic translation, like in Arabic, an exclamation point is different than it is in English. In English, it's much harsher than it is in Arabic. Right? In Arabic, it's drawing attention. So that's my primary complaint. And then I have issues with other translations. The one that by scholars is appreciated the most is by Ahmad Zaki Hamad. And let me just give you a little bit of background. That in terms of tafsir, explanation of the Quran, an assumption is that every ayah has ellipsis, right? That there are things that are not mentioned in the ayah that are understood to be part of it. And the easiest example, okay, the ayahs in the middle of Surah Al-Baqarah that say, wherever you are, face Makkah, face the Qibla. Okay, does that mean when anywhere, anytime I'm standing, I should only face Makkah? No, it's only in prayer. The ayah does not say in prayer. So it says wherever you are, face this Qibla. Okay? And so a principle in tafsir is that every ayah has these spaces where something's not being explained. So the Ahmad Zaki Hamad translation, using little tiny brackets, actually puts that in there. Okay? And almost every time you read those brackets, you're going to say, yeah, this is obvious, but it's fulfilling that point. The starter tafsir that usually people do is tafsir Jalalain. Part of it's to learn Arabic, but that's what tafsir Jalalain does. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen means giving praise and gratitude to Allah. Right? So as a starter translation, I would say Halim. This is not me floating my boat or anything, but almost all the translations in English I've read them all. Right? In some level times. Almost all the translations in English I've gone through all of them. Right? And so whatever translation.
Is like close to what, 20, 30?
And so I can give you whatever critique I want.
Do you like Yusuf Ali?
Yusuf Ali has its value. I personally don't like that old language. Halim is in paragraph form. The Yusuf Ali that we were passing out here, the blue one, is also in paragraph form, which makes it much easier. Now keep in mind, it's next to impossible to find an authentic Yusuf Ali from the 1930s. It was this gigantic volumes.
My father.
Really?
Yeah, it's like falling apart.
Yeah. Almost every Yusuf Ali we have now is an edited version of an edited version of an edited version of Yusuf Ali. The first translation I ever read was Muhammad Asad, because I was just looking for what I could understand.
Do you like Muhammad Asad?
I mean, each one has its value. Muhammad Asad, the footnotes aren't really as useful, they're very academic. Right? Then I think the second one I read was Yusuf Ali, then I read Pickthall, then I read Dr. Mohsen Khan, Taqiyuddin Halali, then I read Shakir, and then I remember from there Ahmad Ali's translation.
So you should just read them all.
Yeah. So I said read a translation, then move to another one, then move to another one.
Is there one you'd recommend to do for non-Muslims?
I mean, for non-Muslims, I would probably recommend connecting up with the Prophet first, peace be upon him. A biography of the Prophet.
Barton Link.
Not hadith, a biography of the Prophet.
Oh.
Depends on the person.
And then when you give them a Quran, do you give it? Put it on with the Arabic in there.
I would recommend not to, because the Arabic is sacred, right? Because who knows where they're taking the book. And now keep in mind, 20 years ago, that was not as easy an issue as it is now. I personally, like I said, my least favorite is that translation by Furqan Foundation. He's a computer scientist. Doesn't seem to have all that much knowledge, training, tradition, and such. But even then, as a translation, it's still pretty solid. And the point I'm making is that at one simple level, it's kind of hard to write a bad translation. If you want to get into in-depth, then you can go way off and everything.
Isn't Oman writing his own translation?
I would hope so. It'll be a linguistic translation.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, I'd be very interested if he says all these things. I mean, translation is a skill.
Yeah.
Looking forward to his translation.
Yes, he said that when I was working.
Sure. Yeah, we used to have conversations about all this. We need a good translation. Okay. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحانك اللهم, glory to you, O Allah, وبحمدك, praise and gratitude are to you. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت, there is no God but you. We bear witness there is no God but you. نستغفرك, we seek your forgiveness. ونتوب إليك, and we turn to you. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Okay, may Allah reward you all, and may Allah reward